Hello, welcome to episode 93 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today it's the 28th of November. Hope you've all had a lovely week since the last week, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today we basically have got lots of knitting, so it's like a bumper knitting edition. With a little spot of confessions, as well as some information on my shop update at the end of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook as Craft House Magic, and I have my own website, crafthousemagik.co.uk, where you can find show notes for the podcast, as well as my online shop where I sell knitting accessories such as yarn bags, patterns, stitch markers and needles. We have Barbara's Day Out on Sunday. So Barbara's Day Out is a knitting or crafty meetup. It shouldn't just be knitting. And it's every few months normally, but we're doing a special Christmas edition on the 1st of December. So I kept it early in the month so that it wasn't too busy, because sometimes later in December it can get a bit hectic, can't it? So Barbara's Day Out this time is on the 1st of December at Dunstan Hall at 12 o'clock, and it's in the Brasserie restaurant. So there are a couple of different restaurants within the Dunstan Hall itself. So if you head for the Brasserie, and I have put the full address of Dunstan Hall and links to the website on the show notes, so look out for that if you're coming. We also have the festive craft along going on at the moment in the Ravelry group. There are so many really lovely projects that are being posted. I'm so inspired. I just want to cast everything on. So if you've already casted loads of things on, best not to look at the threads. I've seen quite a few really lovely shawls in there, as well as loads of socks and some embroidery projects as well. So do come and join in. If any craft is acceptable, even if it's got a tenuous link to festive season, that's fine. Gifts, anything, you know, if you can make a link, it's fine to add it in into the thread. So it is just a discussion thread, and I'll be drawing prizes from that just after Christmas. So we better get into the knitting. So I've got quite a bit to show you today, but first of all I'm going to start with my antler cardigan. Now, because it is nearly all formed, I've asked Barbara to put it on to show you the sort of shape of it. So Barbara, come and show us what you've got on. Thank you very much, Barbara. So Barbara is wearing my antler cardigan, and I have rather dodgily pinned it up the front just to keep Barbara's dignity, because we don't want to show too much. I think the back you could probably see it a little bit better. There's some really lovely cables which I really enjoyed doing. I might have to lean you back, Barbara, so that they can see a bit better. There we go. If you've noticed, I'm actually filming in the evening, and I've just got my lights in the studio here, so it's not quite as good as the daylight, but I think you can see that cable there. I've got this light that's just shining onto my background there, so hopefully you can see it well. So I'm so pleased I've managed to finish the yoke, and then I did 2 inches of 1x1 rib, and then I've cast off, and it was basically, the instructions said to cast off in knit. So what am I to do but do what it says in the instructions, because I'm too lazy to cast off in pattern. But I quite like how neat that looks anyway. So what I've got to do now is pick up stitches either side of the front body of the cardigan and just do some rib and some buttonholes. I need to find some buttons for myself to go with this cardigan before I start making buttonholes, because I'll need to know the size, of course. So I've pinned it at the front just to give you an idea of how it fits. I've also got to graft the underarms here. So the pattern gets you to hold some stitches on some scrap yarn, which I've used some bright pink yarn here, so you can see it. But I've got to graft those as well and just do the front. So I'm hoping that this will fit beautifully. I was very, very naughty when I'm knitting this cardigan, and I didn't alternate my skeins. So there was one skein in the middle that's just slightly lighter than the other ones, which is a bit annoying. Because the other ones are really, really close. There was just some lighter bits in there. But to be honest, this cardigan is going to be so thick, it's going to be a sort of round the house scruffing about cardigan. But it's always nice to have a bit of cable, even if you're just hanging around the house. That's what I'd say anyway. So thank you very much, Barbara. The yarn that I'm using is my Living on a Prayer colourway on an Aran base that I don't yet sell in my shop, but I wanted to try it out first on this project before I did sell it. But it's a 85% superwash merino with some Donegal neps in there. I think you can just about see those. Again, the light is not as good as normal because I am just using studio lights instead of natural daylight as well. I usually use a combination of the two. So the pattern is by Tin Can Knits, and I will leave links in the show notes to all the patterns I'm going to be talking about today. So my next project is all Harry Potter related. So last week I mentioned that we were going to go to Harry Potter in Watford, and I had to have a Harry Potter related project. So I took my Marauders map bag with my Harry Potter related yarn, which is Once Upon a Corgi in the Hedwig colourway, and it's a lovely creamy colour with speckles of sort of all different colours but toned down. I think that's really lovely, and it's a cashmere, merino and nylon mix. And this is how it's looking so far. So this is the Changing Staircases shawl by Tristan, and she's from the Girls of the Yarn Cafe podcast, and she also runs Dragon Hoard Yarn, and it's a beautiful pattern, lovely and simple, so you don't have to concentrate too much. I have made a little change in that I've decreased one extra stitch on each of the decrease rows, just so that it doesn't go too wide, so that it stays quite a narrow but long shawl. But this is supposed to be a one skein shawl, so that'd be brilliant. But I thought, because the yarn that I'm using is like a sock set and it's got a little mini, I may use the contrast colour, which is this one, and it's called Something Sinister, to just do a little edge when I get to the edge of the pattern. So it's worked from this small edge, so your rows get bigger and bigger, and my row is now this long. So on my very last sort of few repeats of the pattern, I'll have the Something Sinister colourway, and that gorgeous sort of browny grey muted tone. I think that's going to look rather lovely. So, oh, I forgot to say the pattern is a free pattern as well, so that's brilliant. So nice that some people take the time to write patterns and then offer them for free as well. So that's my second project on my needles. But then I decided that instead of working on my socks that I already have on the needles, I'd cast on another pair. So I'm knitting with Regia Perfect and doing a Christmassy colourway, and this is how it's knitting up so far. Isn't that lovely? So Christmassy, and I've just got to the point where I've got a bit of green which is supposed to start the heel. So I'm taking it from the centre of the ball, and I knitted as many sort of 2x2 rib rows as I fancied, and I decided I didn't want to have the cuff as thick as the amount of yarn that there was in green before the colours started. So I then broke the yarn so that I've got to sew more ends in, which is a bit silly really, but never mind. I just didn't like that there was so much green at the top, but you're supposed to be able to just knit the heel and then go straight onto the foot afterwards, so there's supposed to be the perfect amount of yarn for the heel, so that'll be interesting to see how I get on with that. But I am using 2.5mm Knit Pro Zing needles, and I decided I'd go with the DPNs for now, have a bit of a change. But I do love how that's knitting up, and it's wonderfully Christmassy, and I really need to get back into my sock knitting. Plus, the reason why I cast these on as well is that I needed something nice and easy to knit that I didn't have to concentrate too much on, at least for the leg of the sock and the foot of the sock anyway. So that's that. I'll show you how it comes in the ball actually. So when I first pulled out the centre, it started with a yellow, like the same as it starts on the outside really, but I did start from the centre, and then it was green, and then it just went to the multicoloured yarn, and then it's gone back to the green again for the heel. So that's really good. That's another project on the needles. So my mother-in-law, Liz, was going on holiday, so she said, Ellie, can I do some sample knitting for you when I go on holiday? Because she likes to sort of sit on the beach and have a relax. So I said, yes, please. So I picked out a lovely simple pattern, and this is Helen Stewart from Curious Handmade, and it's her Spindrift shawl. Now this is a one skein shawl, so it's very, very handy if you've got one skein lying about in the house. I'm sure lots of us have got lots of those one skein wonders. And this is such a beautiful pattern. It's draped nicely, and she's knitted it in my Let It Snow colourway. So this is a sort of different tones of greens and bluey greens in there with little white neps, which is the snowflakes. And I think that works beautifully with the Spindrift shawl pattern. Isn't that lovely? So when she was away, she also decided she wanted to knit a second one because she enjoyed it so much, and she picked up some Egyptian cotton yarn from a shop out there in Tenerife, because she couldn't find any wool yarn. Which I thought, I don't know if this is going to work, but actually that's blocked out wonderfully as well. So especially for sort of cooler weather, I think that that would be beautiful to wear. So Liz has knitted this obviously for herself. But I thought it'd be interesting to show you how it had turned out. So that's a cotton yarn, and it's obviously slightly rougher, but I don't think it won't be itchy because it's got quite a smooth texture. But it still works out really beautifully. I was surprised how well it blocked actually. I've never blocked a lace shawl that's been in cotton before, so I just thought that would be interesting to share with you guys. So Liz came back from holiday and she said, I've got back into knitting. I'd like to do some more sample knitting for you if that's okay. And I said, yes, please. So she's been knitting with my Frozen colourway, and this is on my Stellina base, so there is a little bit of sparkle. I'm not quite sure whether you'll be able to see that because I'm using artificial light today for recording the podcast. And this hasn't been blocked yet, but this is the Pebble Beach shawl by Helen Stewart again, and it's another beautiful one skein shawl, and it seems to have quite a lot of width to it. And I think that that will block out nicely and just come out a little bit deeper, so it will be a lovely shaped shawl. So I'm going to be blocking this for next week to show you the difference of how it looks once it's blocked, but I wanted to show you it now just because I was so excited that Liz had done so much test knitting for me. And I really love this pattern. Isn't it lovely how there's different sort of variation in the little eyelets as the shawl goes down? I think that's really pretty. I think that other people had knitted it in different weights of yarn as well, so it'd be interesting to see, to have a look at the different projects on the Ravelry page to see what they look like. So I will leave links to all the patterns that I've been talking about in my show notes, so don't forget that they're on my website crafthousemagik.co.uk. So there are all the actual knitty things that I've got to show you, but I do have some confessions. Very innocent confessions. So, like I said, we went to the Harry Potter studio tour. Actually, it's called The Making of Harry Potter, Warner Brothers Studio Tour, London. So that's what it says on the signpost, but it's in Watford. And I picked up this little charm. So this is supposed to be on a bracelet, and it's got a chocolate frog and a little frog card in there onto one charm, and I thought if I pick this up I can make myself 2 stitch markers out of that, or progress keepers, to use with my knitting. So I haven't done it yet because I wanted to show you what it looked like before I'd actually turned it into some progress keepers. But that's what I bought, and it was quite expensive because a lot of the stuff there is, I think it was £8, but I thought, well, I can turn it into 2 progress keepers and that would effectively cost me £4 each, so it doesn't seem so bad. So I'm justifying my confessions. So the last section is shop update. So last week I released some project bags that were in the shape of stockings, and over the weekend a couple of people contacted me about actually having these stockings but with a personalised name at the top, and I think that that was a brilliant idea. So in December and for the rest of November I'm going to offer free personalisation of these stocking bags, and I shall show you a picture of what an example of one would look like, and it's free motioned name at the top of the stocking where the white section is. And I do it on both sides, so that if you decide to hang it either one way or the other, you can still see the name. So I'm doing that for the rest of November and December. So I've got some new bags that are going to go in the shop this Friday at 7 p.m. So this is the first one I wanted to show you, and it says I smell snow in free motion stitching, with some printed snowflakes in there. There are some silver ones, but it isn't picking up very well in the light. I hope you can just about see that. And they're actually made of a sparkly printing ink. And then on the back as well, the same sparkly snowflakes, and then I've stitched Craft House Magic across the back with my website on. And then inside is loads and loads of snowflakes. And I've done this so that you can choose it so that the snowflake fabric is on the outside and you've got plain on the inside with my stamp there. And I always have two lovely big pockets in my medium-sized bags. So this is the medium size, but I do offer a large size as well, which is ideal for things like Aran weight jumpers and things, or blankets, and it takes masses of yarn, because sometimes you just can't get hold of bags big enough. But this is the medium size, and I find this useful for up to about 4 skeins, I think. So any sort of shawl pattern, fits lovely and snugly in here, or if you're knitting a cardigan with fingering weight yarn, this would be big enough as well. So they're the two options that you can go for. But I've also done little notions pouches, so you can pop all your bits and bobs in there, and there's a little snowflake progress keeper. I also have some scissor cases, circular needle cases, and DPN cases as well, that'll all match nicely. So there we go. So what I will do is that the ones with free motion on, I'm not going to offer the very large bags because the size of the writing would be lost on a large bag, but you'll be able to choose large for this print. And this is a medium sized one, like I said. What I'm also thinking as well is that if you don't get the reference to I Smell Snow, which is a Gilmore Girls reference, I can put Let It Snow on there instead. So I think that's all for today. Oh, I forgot to say happy Thanksgiving for everybody who celebrates. I hope you've all had a lovely day and enjoyed some wonderful food and wonderful company. And thank you so much for watching. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you on Vlogmas starting on Sunday. Bye!